prepared questions, but I want to defer to members of the audience. And so if you have a question for anyone or each of the candidates, Jean?
Not one in particular, but there was supposed to be they were trying to set up a drug rehabilitation place in an old hosiery factory. And that, I believe, was voted down by the people in the city of Martinsburg. So what's the next step to help these people get rehabilitated out of jobs?
I'll go ahead and start, and I think the problem is, yeah, the no NIMBY problem, not in my backyard. A lot of folks don't want these sort of shelters, rehabilitation centers in their backyard. They're afraid that people are going to break out, break into their homes, or they're going to be around their children. And I think that's a misconception. Rehabilitation centers, especially inpatient rehabilitation centers, are very secure. People don't just walk out, they don't go to the neighbor's house, and they don't break into those people's houses, and they don't disturb their children, they don't do that sort of thing. So I think if we can educate the public about really the idea that rehabilitation centers are exactly what they are. An inpatient rehabilitation center is exactly that. It's inpatient. Those folks are there, they're getting treatment, they are not using drugs, they are not leaving, they're not going out stealing things. So I think we definitely need an inpatient drug rehabilitation center in this area, and I think that the population needs to just be educated about there's nothing to fear from that. There is going to be no rise in crime in their area, and there is no threat from that center in their area.
We desperately need something close. Something close. We're sending, my clients that are addicts have to go to Beckley, Bluefield, or Huntington. What good is that? We need to engage their families. But here's how it works. When you start with experimentation, then it becomes a habit, and then it becomes an addiction. And when it becomes addiction, the family needs to do something. Okay, because that's who the first victimization is of. Is they start stealing from family members. They take from grandma. They hawk dad's guns, and there are warning signs there. To progress to the next level, where we're breaking into houses, generally there's some red flags to see that. But where do we go? That's what I'm hearing from everybody's families. What do? We need to engage. If we're going to wait on Charleston to save us, not going to happen. Not going to happen. And we've got a mess in the city right now, and that I'm running for office in Jefferson County, but it affects the position that I'm running for, and I want to see it happen. However, whatever it takes, I'll wholly back that at that facility. But we need to engage other people. We have to get people back. We have to get churches involved. Faith-based initiatives are more successful than government. Okay? I believe that. There are other things. The Boys and Girls Club that I'm vice president on the board of directors, we recently won an award for our drug prevention efforts. Nobody knows about that. I think Daryl knows, Daryl's a board member. Hassan used to be a board member. But that's how it starts. We have to attack this problem on a community level, not waiting on Charleston, not waiting on Washington, because right now we're in a rock and a hard place. And that's what I propose to do, and I hope there's people in here that are running for city council. It's so bad. It's so bad. People are dying. Please do something.
The only real thing I have to add is I owe my life to a rehabilitated heroin addict. He was my team leader in Afghanistan. His name is Matthew John Tinton. So it does work. He's still serving in our country. I think it comes down to funding, grant writing, everything. We need a rehabilitation center local for our community.
Well, I hate to say anything bad about my my boss, and he's still working for him. I still work for him. But really, there needs to be more accountability in our office. We have folks that are making very good salaries in our office, and they're just simply not doing their job. There was actually one person in our office, I'm not going to name any names, but was actually told the attorney that they worked for that that's not my job, I'm not going to do it. Well, that's absolutely unacceptable to me. You're making a good salary, you're getting paid by the county, you're getting paid by the taxpayers of this county, of Jefferson County, to do your job. Somebody tells you to do something that they need it done, and it's something that is it's important, it's a juvenile case, and there's a victim involved, and you're just going to say, no, I'm not going to do it, and nobody's going to stop you from saying that. That just absolutely cannot occur. So our office needs accountability. We need to have monthly meetings, reviewing cases, make sure they're being done right, make sure that victims are being treated well, making sure that the business owners have a say when their places are broken into, to make sure that the officers are happy with the results that they're getting from our prosecutors, that we're not just sitting at a desk, having a file on one side and pleading it out and putting the file over here without barely looking at it for 5 minutes. That stuff has to stop. We need to work cases and make sure that people, victims, and other people, and the other people in the county itself, the people of the county need to be safe from the predators, and they need accountability from the prosecutor's office.
One of the main reasons why I won my primary election was because the residents of Jefferson County thought the county commission wasn't responsive to them. And one of the main challenges for that is they meet in the mornings on Thursdays, and I would like to implement evening meetings and weekend meetings. Further, I would also read comments, even if they're against me, out loud, because people's voices need to be heard. But transparency and openness is one of the main issues that I want to tackle as county commissioner.
The first thing or everything?
Just one, Matt.
Okay, speed up prosecutions. That's a problem that I've seen as a defense attorney. I have experience as a prosecutor, so I know what Jefferson County is doing right. As a defense attorney, I know what they're doing wrong. And one thing that they're doing wrong is there seems to be a lag between when a crime occurs and when they're indicted. And organizations take on the identity of their leader. I want to be someone. I'm going to be a leader that's going to be responsive. Okay, we got to protect the victims. We have that ethical duty, and it's just a moral right thing to do. And 3-4 years of waiting for justice is a disservice. That's immoral. People don't. It's also bad for the people who are committing the crimes. If a child puts their hand on a hot eye and it doesn't burn them, it burns them 3 years later. Do you think they learn not to do that? No, they don't. So we need to have a shorter time between when it happens and when they get indicted. And one of the things that I would do is as whoever, John, it's going to be you, but I'm going to call extra grand juries during the year because we have some times where there's a gap between it, and that's not the fault of anybody. But there's a solution. There's a lot of problems. There's a lot of obstacles, but there's a lot of solutions. And you just have to be willing to put yourself out there and take a chance. And hey, if it doesn't work, if we indict too many criminals, I don't think anybody's really going to have a problem with that. I'd like to err on the side of that.
Can I get a quick response?
Sure.
Yeah, Matt keeps getting to go last. So.
No, I was going to change that.
Okay, yeah. I think, and I'm in charge of the grand jury, and I want to explain some of the processes and some of the problems that are in our office. One of them is in magistrate court right now, where the cases are just lagging too long, and I agree there needs to be personnel changes in that area. But the second part is something that's beyond our control, unfortunately, and those are the drug cases. When we have a drug case, when somebody is busted with 100 pounds of marijuana or a whole bunch of heroin, a whole bunch of cocaine, we are required by state law to make sure that there is a sample sent down to the West Virginia State Police Lab that is analyzed, and it's actually proven that this is actually that drug. It's heroin, it's marijuana, whatever it is. we don't get results back in sometimes for 18 to 24 months. And we have to beg. We call, we write letters, we get on the phone, we say, we need these results, we need these results. And again, I don't know if it's a problem of funding or what it is, but I want to work with West Virginia State Police Lab, I want to work with legislators, I want to work with the folks down there to see what is the problem. Why are we not getting these lab results back? Why are these drug cases taking so long to prosecute? That's one of the basic problems, and it's one of the reasons that we are having that lab.
Can I go back? When I was working in Kanawha County, we didn't have that problem. You know why? When we set a trial date and the lab was being unresponsive, which Hassan's absolutely right, that's exactly how they are, we would subpoena the director of the lab to come to court to tell us why it's taking so long. Did we ever have to wait on results? Nope. That's a simple solution to get around the problem. And that can be implemented here in Jefferson County. You think they're going to drive 5.5 hours to tell the judge, to tell John why their people aren't doing their job?
One of many examples, when I went door to door, I met people who have been robbed, and they know it's being sold at the pawn shop. It's down the street. They know, and they file the police reports, and the police have the record of what happened, and they take the full reports and everything, and 8 months go by, 10 months go by. I just met somebody last week who has been waiting for 2 years for just to see something happen. They know who it was that robbed them. It was somebody that they knew, and nothing has been done. So I think that the lack of accountability, lack of leadership, but more importantly, I think that we have, unfortunately, in Jefferson County, a system that does not want to push forward these minor crimes. But as you guys have said, these minor crimes are usually a symptom that something is getting more serious. So by ignoring it, you are actually leading to that bigger problem that leads to more violent crime. So I would like to know, I mean, you have said you want more leadership, you want more accountability, that's all great, but honestly, are you going to take those minor crimes seriously?
I'm going to let Matt go first to balance things off.
Absolutely, absolutely. The majority of cases go through magistrate court because they're a misdemeanor level. And shoplifting, gas drive-offs, simple possession, these are precursor crimes to probably someone who has an addiction. If we can intervene at that point, maybe we can prevent something happening on the back end. It's a little more serious. And we steal from grandma, it's generally not violent because you know when she's gone, you have access to her house. It's when you break into someone's house while they're asleep, when the potential for danger and violence is at its highest. And nobody, if you've ever been a victim of a crime, you ever had somebody break into your house, you know how eerie it feels. It's very unsettling. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. I've had things stolen from me. I've had my car stolen, I've had guns stolen, so I get it. I know that frustration. We're not going to get it on every occasion. There's always going to be somebody that slips through. But a general expectation of the police officers to be diligent in their duties has to come from the prosecutor's office. And we're the ones that control the music for this dance. We can hurry them up. We can speed them. There's ways to do it. Police officers, if they're bad, it's a failure of the prosecutor. It's a failure of their supervisors. Police officers are really good at it. They're trained to do what they're told and to follow procedure. If you give them the right path, they're going to exceed your expectations every time. We've got good ones here. We really do. We just lack some leadership. And we got to be diligent. We got to have good prosecutors in the magistrate court as well as felony court. I think we got a good prosecutor in felony court right now. We need some in magistrate court as well. We need some abuse and neglect cases to catch those on the upside. And then we can, if we have some programs, if we think outside the box. One time when I was a prosecutor, I made this 18-year-old girl and boy who was doing some vandalism go pick beans for the farmer that they stole from. They got the point. And the farmer loved it. And they got a clean record. And they earned it. And everybody was happy. So we have to be on the forefront, flagging those precursor crimes that signal addiction. We have to jump on them at that point.
Yeah, I agree, and right now, I have no control for what happens in magistrate court. That was my former opponent's bailiwick. The problem I've seen when I've been down in magistrate court, and it drives me absolutely crazy, is that you will come, the attorneys will come in, they'll chat for a while in the hallway, for about 15 or 20 minutes. They'll come into the court and say, why don't we just continue this thing for another 3 months and try to figure it out? Let's try to work a deal out. So you brought a victim in, you brought a police officer in, you brought these who have to, often victims, they have to take off a day off from work to come in. They stay out in the hallway for an hour to find out that the two lawyers just want to push the thing down the road because they want to figure something out, because they don't want to actually sit there and have a hearing. And it's just because they're too lazy to do a hearing. And that's just something that's unacceptable to me, and that's something that needs to be stopped. So yes, I agree, prosecutions need to be moved quicker. Hearings do not need to be continued just simply because you don't feel like it. I want prosecutors who work in our office who are going to say, we're having a hearing right now. You guys are going to accept this plea that officers and the victims are agreeing with it, or we're just having a hearing right now today. We're not just kicking this down the road another 3 months and then another 3 months again. That needs to stop.
I'm going to need to wrap this up, but to balance out the time a little bit, I have probably a softball question for Caleb, the County Commission office. What, if anything, would you propose to have the commission do to reduce the burden of local regulations on business?
Well, one of the first things I suggested to improve efficiency was to add a performance measure in the zero-based budgeting scheme, or not scheme, but the way the county does the budget. And this would measure whether certain regulations or departments, what they're doing is actually doing what they want it to do. And if it's not, they don't really have a case to keep it. If it is, keep it there.